So as I mentioned, we're looking at the soccer war. What's special in this? I'm not going to go into the historical aspects, but they are interesting. And basically, there were a lot of tensions because of the damned immigrants. And a soccer match incited passions and was the imminent trigger of an invasion. And you've got El Salvador invading Honduras here. Now, it's only a 3-turn game, and it's more restricted than that. Salvadoran player will be the first player using the communist tracks. The 6th Infantry Brigade here will be out of supply for the entirety of the scenario. The 5th Infantry Brigade has special movement rules. It has to end its movement in hex 1411 down here. It just must. Whatever. Honduran zones of control don't extend into El Salvador until after the El Salvadoran player has taken his regular ground unit movement phase of turn 1. There's no war yet. Beginning on turn 3, all units become out of supply. Well, that means there's not going to be any more attacks, right? Poor weather trails provide no movement benefit during game turn 1. Units have to pay normal terrain costs when moving along trails, and we can see what that affects. So trails are normally a 1 movement, these gray things. Moving through the forest, you're looking at 2 movement. The rough and clear are pretty good for infantry. I don't even think we have an armor in this game, so let's not worry about anything further. Neither player gets any insurgency command points, rearg points, or supply depots in this scenario. We have 1 unit that has to still be set up, well, once set. There's a couple weird things. So first of all, this is not organized in an air group by the scenario instructions. There are no rules for air units that aren't in air groups, and I think other scenarios do that in general. But this air group specifies that all 3 units have to be together in an air group. I don't know if that's an inconsistency or a matter of, hey, these have to all be stacked together in one location. I haven't decided where to put that, though. That's the issue. Anywhere in Honduras I can put it. Now, the range of these planes is 20 hexes. They're A-37, kind of mainly bombardment planes. I think the El Salvadorians also have an A-37. But we have no EW capability, so that's of interest. Let's take a look at the victory conditions. Tegucigalpa is the key to the game in one sense. It's worth 5 victory points. A bunch of other towns are worth victory points. I don't have little markers. Maybe I want to get some. Nueva Octupe, which is here, an airstrip. We'll see if it's all the airstrips. Santa Rosa de Copan, up here, no. So I may want to use some kind of markers for these, I don't know. Guarita, down here on the border. Gracias, up here an airstrip. Concepcion, down there. Macala is here, another airstrip. Yeah, right. Siguatapaca. Up here, that is a city. That's a town. And Glasgoran 1412 is down here. Okay. But note that there are places that look like they're close to the border that aren't important. Those are worth 1 each. Any Salvadorian ports damaged by Honduras are worth -2 points. Each casualty taken by the Salvadorans is going to be worth a point. Step losses on ground or air units. At the end of the game, on turn 3, after nobody's got supplies, I don't know what you're supposed to do, like reposition. It's like a ceasefire or something. You take a look, and hey, you got to have more than a 2-point victory swing. The Salvadorians are on the offensive. Their units are not in great. They have a somewhat larger army, but they have a weaker air power. And I'm not that impressed with their army. So we're not going to see a lot of effect here. The historical result was a stalemate. Hondurans had air superiority, and port facilities were damaged. The Salvadorans were forced to retreat from the locations that they had captured. And more non-combatants died than combatants. Okay. And I don't know, I guess I got some counters to put down, but otherwise I can start. The initial problems I see is this damn phase track. It's such a complex solution to the situation. In terms of reading it, it's in a position where it's hard to see what the hell's going on. I'm looking to see if I've got the sequence of play somewhere else, and I don't see it there. And it's not in the charts and tables books, if I recall correctly. Okay, good. Those are, yeah, which is a shame. It means either having the rule book open all the time, which isn't too bad right now, or having to cope with this. All right. Well, first turn of the game, everything's in supply. Regular ground unit reorganization, there isn't any. There's no reorg points. Guerrilla attacks. That's an intervention game level thing, along with the night bombardment, so we skip that. Regular ground unit movement. Okay. Well, what am I aiming for my attacks? That's what I kind of have to get a feel for with this scenario. I'm looking at 2 defense points all over here on the border. This guy, I know I have to move him, so I'm just going to shift him over here. Is he able to do that? Well, we can see the river costs me 1 extra movement point. The rough costs me a movement point. Boom, I'm in there. I can cock him to remind me that I've moved him. I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but with me chattering away, it might be. But otherwise, yeah, I have to kind of look at, and what do I want? Well, in general, I would say, hey, I want 2 to 1, right? So let's say I'm looking in a forest, 2 to 1. Well, let's see what kind of odds I want. I don't know. I think I want to hit around 2 to 1. That's what I'm looking at. Note that the odds chart has the odds separated in different. So column shifts are not odds shifts. That's an important factor. It allows for a little bit more space in terms of what the column shifts actually do. And so that's kind of a clever routine. So, you know, I mean, I kind of know what I have to attack. I'm attacking here. What is the river going to do to me? All right. Again, there's no good list, I think, of terrain effects in here. Yeah, there is. Okay, cool. That'll help. So I am looking at a river. What is the impact of the river? There's going to be a die roll modifier. Hexside provides a -2 die roll modifier to defenders when all attacking units are on the other side of the river. Well, one will not be. So I have an attack there that's plausible. And this is getting me on my way to Tegucigalpa. So if I put the insurgency unit in there somewhere, I'm going to be able to do a kind of nice attack. I am not going to be able to hit this big unit with my insurgency unit. but I think a goal of trying to strike in there sounds good. So, this is a pretty defensible unit though. So I'm looking at 1-to-1 if I attack with all these. Let's look at our stacking points. Got to keep track of a lot of different stuff. You'll get more used to it as you go. There's no question of that. Stacking points. So what I'm looking at here is, okay, what about a parenthesized brigade? What does that count as? I'm going to say it's a brigade. No, half strength, that's why. Okay, but that's unit load. So those are 2 points. It's only companies and support that are 1 point each, with this being obviously both of those. So I'm allowed 5 stacking points for units. I could move like this. Officially, I'm not on the insurrection movement or insurgency movement, so I got insurrection on the brain right now. What's up with this guy? I don't know. But yeah, you can see I'm trying to figure this out. I'm going to try to play according to the sequence of play more carefully, but later in the game I might just throw this guy in here with an insurgency reserve because it's the next step, right? Started with a launch of an attack on here, and I kind of like that for some reasons, but these guys, I wanted to move them in here, and I wanted to do an attack on this and an attack on the Rangers and try to wipe the Rangers out. And now I realize, wow, I'm not really capable of doing that. I could have gotten a 2-to-1 on this. Instead, I'm going for the 2-to-1 on this. So what do I do with these guys? Well, I had put them here. I'm going to pull them back. Notably, what I can't do, because there is a zone here, is I can't just slip through Guatemala here. I'm not sure if that should be legitimate. Actually, I don't remember which hex those guys are in. But if it, if it was allowed by the rules, I would be disturbed by it anyhow. So let me see what these guys are. These guys are 4. A flipped over unit number 4. Yeah, this is the kind of shit that I have to do when I'm trying to get used to a system, is I make a mistake and then I have to go back and undo what I've got. So 4 is not that. I would have thought, yeah, oh no, that's not unit 4, that's unit 1. Okay, yeah, he's in the right place there. I don't know what to do now, because I don't want to undo these moves and try to figure that out. Do I want to launch a 1-to-1 attack in the forest, right? With some minuses? Not really. Now here's what's interesting. We have no EW on the board. That means there's basically no interception, I think. Let me look that up. Because the reality of this is that there was air combat, not surprisingly. In fact, they mentioned in the scenario thing, a hero of the war for Honduras was this fighter pilot who shot down 3 El Salvadoran pilots in one day. There's one other case for interception that I didn't mention in the rules, because it's so rare in normal scenarios, but it applies here, which is that you can attack, you can intercept if your air group marker, if someone flies over that. I may have mentioned it. That's a big deal. It means you're not just going to be sitting on the ground being bombarded, which might have been a nice tactic for a single El Salvadorian plane. Do I want to launch my plane or not? It's not going to get intercepted. It might be the thing that helps me win this battle. Anyway, that's not the moment, is it? Because air missions happen down here. So insurgency movement, I'm going to insurgency move this. That brings that stacking to 5. I'm going to put, I think El Salvador is the communist in this. Yeah. I'm going to put, see if I can find an insurgency reserve marker. There's one. Differentiated by player. Excellent. I'm going to put an Insurgency Reserve on there. That'll give me the capability to move into the village. Now, villages, I believe, are not population centers, so I don't have a problem when I move into one. Okay. Insurgency placement. There isn't any aerial counterinsurgency. No. Disbandment. I don't know if I could, but it doesn't make sense. Air missions. All right. What kind of air mission do I want to provide? Well, I could bombard something. That's not likely to do much. Let's go over my options. Bombarding something, I could bombard a terrain feature, and that might be of some value. So I've got a bombardment value of 1. Remember, the A is counterinsurgency. I could bombard an air facility, and on a D, I would not hurt the air units. I could knock out some EW capability or something like that, but there's not much I can do there. Bombing ground units, I don't have enough strength points to bomb a ground unit. Out of the question. Okay. What other choices do I have? Well, the big missions that I have that are of interest are close air support, I guess. I think that's what it's called. Let's find it. Ground support is the attack helicopter one. I don't have any helicopters in this game. So yeah, it's the close air support mission, which would allow me to add a +1 to the combat table. Well, we're kind of going all out here. Let me find my airbase. There it is. I take my little plane, and my range is 20. I can put it somewhere to remind me where I am, and then I go flying off and hit this. Now this is going to be a 1-to-1 attack. That's not the greatest thing in the world, but I'm violent. And we're testing out the combat system. So there's nothing that can intercept me on the way. The planes aren't deployed there, so I get, I'm being really detailed here for me, right? I'm showing you the basics of the simplest system. And then this flies back, and that's not where it is. I'm just putting it there. And I move this to the used box. I've been making an assumption. Hey, where did I put my airbase? Okay, we put it at Tegucigalpa. I was making an assumption about how many planes can stay at Tegucigalpa. I am pretty sure that they can, but let's take a look. That is an actual airport, is it not? Yeah. Which means it can hold 5 planes and activate 2 air units per activation. So that's pretty impressive. No, that's contested or damaged. Sorry, 10 planes, and it can send 4 planes up at a time. So I can send my whole thing in a single mission if I so desire. But anyhow, the El Salvadorian plane has created that. We keep going. Let's get this ground combat. Okay. Well, we get to declare the ground combat. So let's do the most interesting one first here. I've got 2 strength points, hitting 2 strength points. That gives me an initial combat of 1-to-1 in the forest. Okay? And we put this current combat modifier there. Ooh, let me see if I've got these listed somewhere else. I doubt it, unless oh, yes, I do. Cool. This will be easier to read than trying to read off the map. It's just my general thing, why I have trouble with the sequence of play. Right, we gotta swap batteries. I'm going into some detail in the combat, the movement and everything. I mean, this is a big game. Granted, there's not a lot that's shocking in it, but there are things that are a little different, a little weird, and I just want to catch that aspect of it. I don't know why. Okay, so we start working our way down here. A bombardment was applied. That gives me a +1 modifier. Now this is, wow, we got serious problems. I could do this the squad leader way and use this as a dice cup. I'm used to the it's actually why I have it, kind of, but I won't. The World Board Gaming Challenge Championships or whatever that used to be the Avalon Hill Avalon Con. Everybody who played squad leader there, for whatever reason, they got like these little rocks glasses that they would roll their dice in. And so I wasn't there, but people would tell me you would just hear all this tinkle, tinkle, tinkle of all the squad leader people rolling their dice in little glasses, as opposed to everyone else who's just drawing their dice like normal people would. Okay, but since I'm not playing squad leader, actually it's ASL folk. So let's see. I'm going to keep track of my modifiers like this, and I'm just going to put a +1 like that. So that's the bombardment point. An insurgency unit is in the attacking? No. We're not in the intervention game. I go away. We're not playing with optional rules. Column shifts. We don't have any of this shit. No optional rules. So I've got a +1 on the die roll, and I'm at the 1-to-1 table. This is not great, but I'm hoping for the best. Why when casualties hurt me? I don't know. So I get a total of 3. 3 means the attacker takes a step loss. I guess I'll hurt that unit, because otherwise I lose a unit. I look at my victory conditions, and I just took a step loss, so that's going to be 1 victory point for the pale blue counters representing the not blue player. Right. Okay. So that didn't go well. But there's nothing else. Ooh. No retreats. Okay. Right. Let's keep moving our way down. We don't have to do it this way, but I will. So 1, 2, 3, 4 strength points. Let's not flip any counters. To 2. I'm in rough terrain instead at 2-to-1 for initial combat value. There's nothing that's modifying this at all. Again, the village doesn't do me anything, right? I didn't see anything there. Yeah, towns, villages, and capitals have I. Insurgency have to have combat, but it's not mentioning stuff like the doubling of a unit and stuff. And that's what bugs me. Is, let's see if we've got anything else here. No, crap. I'm just trying to see, because I feel like some of the information is not present here that I would want. Now, I'm pretty damn sure villages do not provide any benefit whatsoever. So I'm gonna just roll a die. Okay, we get a 5. And we shoot over here. The defender takes a step loss and has to retreat. Remember, I can take enhanced losses if I like. I don't like, so I'm going to retreat. That's not 1 hex. If you recall, retreating is 2 hexes in this game. So I will. Towards supply source. There are supply sources all over the place. And the El Salvadorians are able to advance. I cannot advance 2 units into a single hex, so we're just going to go like that. And then our final attack over here, which has some interesting aspects to it. So let's take a look at that. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4 to 3. All right, there is no 3 to 2 or anything like that. So I'm at 1-to-1 in the rough. That's not great. I do have a modifier, though, going for me. I have both special forces and an insurgency unit. Let's see if those are both covered here. So special forces gives me a column shift in my favor, and the insurgency should give me a +1. Yes. I'm attacking, however, a town. Oh crap. Okay, I gotta go look up in the rules because I think towns may give something. I think what they give is you don't have to retreat and you don't pay a point to not retreat. Mistaken. Good thing I looked it up and I had to bounce around a bit. This isn't as repetitive as I expected it to be. So supposedly there's a defensive bonus for being in a town. There it is. -1 for occupying a city, town, or port. There is no retreat bonus. There is no doubling bonus. So we had a +1 to the die roll, but we get a -1 for that town. So all we get is the column shift and a die roll. And again, everybody's in supply. There's nothing weird going on here. And we get a shitty die roll. So we slide over here and the attacker takes a hit. What am I going to take that hit on? Damned if I know. I guess we'll take it on this. And that's another victory point for the Hondurans. I have that insurgency reserve. I could move him. I don't know that I want to. Okay. So I'm going to take that off. And I'll throw this over here because I don't need a lot of counters. Eventually I'm going to be using the counter tray for more things. This would be the reserve movement, insurgency disbandment, a couple of other things. We hit to reinforcements, and we swing over to the Honduran player. And like you can see, I mean, this is a tiny scenario. There's not a lot going on here. This is not something that you play for anything other than to kind of familiarize yourself with the system. Already, do I have minuses? Oh, we could do it that way. Actually, we could do it this way, which would be appropriate, but whatever. I got the counters up there with that. Okay, what am I doing? I think I'm going to go urinate and probably come back in a little bit. But there's a lot of rules for something that really isn't that complex to actually play. And that's something I like about it. When I look at the Gulf Strike and Fleet games, which are similar in some ways, there's so much interaction with the air sides of things and everything. Are they the same kind of thing? I feel like the interleaving of player activities in those, not that they're pulsed, but there's a lot of opportunity for interception and stuff. At least I don't think they're pulsed. I can't be sure. It's been a long time. But I remember them being much more painful to react to. And I kind of felt like they were very bad for solo play in a way that this isn't, and in a way that, you know, games like Omaha Beachhead that I just played aren't, you know, or Korean War, which have very pulsed activities in them, but somehow the pulsing in them creates more of a back and forth of the game the way a CDG does. The Gulf Strike and Fleet games felt more like I was playing something. It was almost like I was trying to play chess. I'm trying to get you to commit to do something. I just keep pushing things out there. Are you going to intercept this? No? How about this one? How about this one? You know, this kind of tempting the opponent to commit themselves so that now you have an opportunity to do something. I find that kind of play very unappealing. Certainly for solo play, but also in a lot of ways for normal, just, you know, it just, even in opposed play, it just feels very much like, well, we'll see when we get to them. But this doesn't feel that way. This feels like a standard war game, and unfortunately not a very exciting one. It doesn't get all, to me, it doesn't get all that much more exciting than what we're seeing here, to be honest. The key point is I dislike it less, you know. I think it's a very clever game with lots and lots of detail about the situation and in that particular period of time, and the insurrection combat or the insurgency combats, and trying to get supplies to these units, that are, off operating on their own and everything, and all the troubles of dealing with that. But it just felt dull, and we'll see that again. There's things that excite me about it. There's things that excite me about Gulf Strike. In both cases, probably more the colors of the counters than anything. I love seeing these purple guys and white guys and everything on the board. They just have so many different color mixes. I actually liked the glossy counters, and I don't mind glossy counters that much, although after I've clipped them, they become a little too slippery. As long as the map's not slick, even though Pooch is, I mean, seriously, these are the kind of things that, like, I start talking about with it, because it just doesn't, there's so much excitement, 64 fucking pages of basic rules for the combat, all this stuff and everything, all this detail, and it doesn't boil down to that much more than you can get, in some pretty basic and simple war games, in my opinion. It just doesn't give you that much of a view of what's going on, but that's my opinion. I don't think things are going too well for El Salvador. Taking a couple of unit losses. I attacked too weakly. Again, learning the combat system again, right? So for Honduras, they have a few goals. One, they cannot lose to Gulzicapa. That's the big one. That's just too much. The other towns, I can lose a fair number of them, but I get 2 points for each port that I wipe out. In addition to the casualties I'm causing, I should be able to make up for the victory point hexes that I take. I am going to need little victory point markers of some sort or another. I don't know if I really want to grab my Tiddlywinks, but it may be my best move, because I can't think of anything else I can use. So I'll be back with those. A much better view, and I scored the point that El Salvador has for holding one of these right now. The problem, of course, I've made sort of a breakthrough here. I don't think Honduras can allow that, so I think one of my focuses is going to be to prevent El Salvador from pushing too much further forward. And another factor is I'm going to try to bomb their ports, because that's probably what I'm best at. Now, I only get 2 turns of bombing, and maybe I want to knock out their airplane, I don't know. That might be more valuable than anything else I can do. So, yeah, it's unlikely that I can, honestly, because if I'm attacking an air facility with 3 bombardment points, it takes a 5 or a 6 to get a D. That's not going to do shit. Yeah, so I am not going to be able to hurt the planes if they're on the ground. The only way I'll hurt them is if they intercept me, and they can't right now. So, ports it will be. Okay. So let's take a quick look. We run through this shit, and we go to ground unit movement. I'll try to position. Yeah. I wish I had, it's ridiculous how cheap I am, basically. I wish I had clear Tiddlywinks. I found these blue ones, and I really kind of like them, but they kind of make it difficult to see what's going on, etc. Clear ones would give me the same kind of focus. I would still be able to see that they're there, and I would be able to see what's under them in the map. Now, these are almost like little, cheap chips or something. They are at least translucent, which helps a little bit, but it's not great on this map. But somehow, I just, it's not really that I'm cheap. I mean, it is to some extent. But it's also that I don't remember that I could get these, So I'm not going to go out and... I'm cheap enough that I'm not going to just order them and have to pay a couple bucks in shipping for something that's like a quarter or something, And I don't walk through stores in the toy aisles anymore, and I don't know if I'd see them there. And finally, I used to go to drugstores and stuff, and they probably had stuff like this. And finally, there's just this, I don't remember. Like, if I'm ordering from Amazon or something, I don't remember. Hey, I could use some tiddlywinks. I really ought to make a list of things. Because like recently I needed to get a mesh coffee filter, right? And I could have ordered tiddlywinks from Amazon, I'm sure, along with that. I had to make my $25 free shipping because obviously I'm not going to pay, $3 on shipping on a $6 coffee filter or whatever. And so I try to think in my head, what do I need? What do I need? Well, I needed socks. I have plenty of socks that don't have holes in them, but there's a particular type of like boot sock type thing that I like, and I wear the shit out of them. And I've bought a whole bunch of ones that were kind of cheap earlier, and now they're getting holes too. But they're actually causing me more problems with my leg, the injury that I have with my tendons and stuff. It's just not healing. But anyway, I could have ordered these. Maybe someday I'll remember. This is what you get when you listen to me. All right, let me move some Hondurans around. It looked pretty easy, but remember those trails are out on the first turn, and forests cost 2 each. This is not going to be trivial for me to swing over and cover everything, actually, which is kind of interesting. The breakthrough may make some difference because El Salvador gets to move next. It's I go, you go. They're going to be able to push up there in turn 2, grab themselves some victory points. It's still not going to be, an exciting scenario, but none of them are all that exciting, to tell you the truth. Not too bad. Now, there's nothing like strategic movement or anything like that. So this guy's limping his way down slowly. So much of this system feels like, I don't know, it feels so much like it was written in 1972, and then all kinds of like huge complexity was tacked onto it. Not everything. It's just weird. It's like this is definitely sort of modernish, but how much does it really add? I don't know. I love that kind of combat chart. Again, in Omaha Beachhead, I loved what was going on. In this, it's just so static feeling. I didn't move my insurgency unit. I'm going to cover another unit, another space. This is a little dangerous because I'm outnumbered, but I'm not really. There's only one strength point facing me, so what the hell? We're just covering and trying to prevent El Salvador from grabbing our shit. We go to air mission, and now it's port destruction. So for a port, 1 to 4 planes allow me to cause damage. Well, El Salvador used their plane, and it's not really protecting shit. Every port counts, right? Yep. So let's just start sending missions out. And we're going to do it one plane at a time. I'm not going to reach over and grab them, but let's look for some ports. This doesn't have any counter-air capability. Let's go bomb it. What the hell? And I'm within range. Everything's within range. Those things have a range of 20 hexes. And there's my die. We take a look. I needed a 5 or a 6, right? For terrain feature port 1 through 4, I need a 5 or a 6. Are there any modifiers? Let's take a look. Fortification, no. This is a supply source, not a fortification. Let's look. That's intervention game. Damaged. Stack of ground units capable of air defense attack. El Salvador is never capable of air defense. So, yep, there we go. Okay, so 5 or 6, and I get a port damage marker, and I get a couple victory points for that. Yay. Nope. Now, I could keep throwing missions at that same port. Why not? That way I don't have to move counters. Nothing. And then the third one. Yay! Alright, well this one's damaged. So, we had something happen. This is really exciting so far. They're not all this unexciting, okay? This is an exceptionally boring scenario. And this goes up too. And we're well in the lead now. We're not launching any attacks or anything, so we swing down and hit game turn 2. We're back up at the top. Let's see if El Salvador can figure out some way to score a few more points, because they're not doing so well right now. Since I'm going through everything end of turn stage, these suckers go up. I don't think there's anything else that gets changed. Goody goody. This is really the last chance El Salvador has to gain points, because turn 3 is out of supply. You can't make attack. If you make a breakthrough and Honduras can't handle it, you might gain something. But notably, I'm not going to get Tegucigalpa. That's pretty clear. And the question is, what can I get? It's not a lot. Probably a couple more victory points total. It's not going to look good for me, because I've already lost 4. But I guess, given the nature of like, end of game type of thing, and the whole game is kind of end of game, let's grab for more and hope we do the best we can. And I'll try to position my pieces. I'm not going to go into as much detail, and I probably am not going to go into that much detail over again in these playthroughs, except when I zoom in on new elements of the game as they start happening. Take a look at the why I'm not going to get this. So this is a 3-point unit defense sitting in a capital, which I assume counts as a city. I don't think I found anything in the rules that states that. Who knows? It might be there, but there's things that I'm just, if I don't find it, that's terrible. If I do, what do I gain? I prove that I'm wrong. Well, but my impression is that it wasn't in there. All right, now I have to fucking look, because that's just how I am, isn't it? God. I half want to prove myself wrong is the whole point. So we look through these here cities, but notably there's no capitals, and no, national capitals are cities. Okay, so it is actually in there. I mean, it seemed obvious that it would be the case. It's just, so I'd be facing 6 strength points. I'm not going to be able to break that with 1, 2, 3, and that's it. But where am I going to find attacks? I'm probably not going to be able to take this either. I just don't have the force in place. Like what I'm going with deployment. Unfortunately, these 2 units are far apart. I can't stack them together and create a zone of control with them. I'm just going to leave them alone. Maybe they'll be able to do something. Launching 2 attacks, and notably I'm keeping the insurgency in reserve capacity so that, remember, I hope I gave it both the column shift and the plus bonus when I launched my attack, so that if it's available, it still can't hit here. It still can't grab that. Shit. But I might be able to position it in some location, maybe here or something, that could cause some difficulties. I don't know. Nothing looks very good right now. But these are my 2 hexes that I'm going to go for. In place, time to calculate a couple of combats and fire them off. Yeah, yes, I moved that down. Alright, after combat, we actually destroyed a unit. We're up to 3 victory points. We've taken 3 of the locations. I've got this insurgency reserve. I can't move into La Paz because this is my reserve movement, but I can run up here. What does this possibly do? That's a good question. I am not certain by the rules whether or not I could occupy a population center. For example, this one, which is the only open one right now, and it won't be, with an insurgency unit and conduct a combat out of supply for it. I think I may be able to. I would have to look through all kind of rules to find that. It's not going to be in effect, because we can see what Honduras is going to do. They've got things covered They don't want to leave anything open. They still really do not have the force to launch an attack, so we're just going to move down there. And there's no zone of control with this, so we can just go 1, 2, 3. And we're going to launch a fistful of port attacks. There are still 2 ports that I can score victory points for in El Salvador. El Salvador is limited, isn't it? Yeah, it's down here. I knew it didn't go all the way across, but I just had to double check because, again, that's the way I am. 3 checks failed to get any more port attack impacts. That uses up all the air factors. The fact that nobody's got supply means their movement is halved, their defensive values are halved, and they cannot make any normal attacks. Whether or not they can make some kind of insurgency march into a town, I don't know. But there's nothing uncovered, so that's not even an option. So essentially turn 3 doesn't happen. I mean, I can move shit around or whatever, but there's no point to it. This is our victory point situation. It's a 1 point difference. That's approximately the historical. That's it. Is there anything to rap about this? I mean, it's a tiny little scenario. It's not meant to really show off the excitement of the game or whatever. And we'll be able to see in the later scenarios as I get to them, especially the intervention game stuff, what the game is really about. This ain't it. But remember, the first scenario in Vietnam is Operation Starlight. It's basically moving a couple of pieces, just to show this weird operation system in the game. This game, do I need something this small? No, but it's a historical scenario, and there are few enough of them. There really are not that many. Of the introductory scenarios, what are there? There's 4. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to do the bloody, well, I didn't do the Bloody March. This has to do with the Contra operations. I'd rather do this in the context of a real scenario. The Fall of Somoza, I think, is what I'll do next. It's a little bit richer than this one. It's 7 turns long. Gives you a little bit more feel of what can be done with the conventional game situation. And then there's this tiny SS-20 scenario that I've often done, but I don't know if I will. And then we'll start looking at the intervention game. The intermediate scenarios use that. And see if there's anything that really is necessary there or that I really want to play. So we have these things like Civil War in El Salvador, maybe. Contra Drive, which is going to be a major situation there. Revolution Without Borders is a big one. But the problem that I have with these is I kind of want to just do the campaign scenario when I hit them. I think I may start one and may not even finish it because, so you have the campaign scenarios, but even those kind of feel wrong to me. And I'm like, do I want to do the fun little make your own scenario, the hypothetical one? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go. But anyway, this is one. Let's send it up. Yippee-ki-yay.